After many centuries or maybe even millennia, India is finally looking outwards. Our country is realizing its achievements. It is celebrating its ancient civilization. After centuries of invasions and foreign rule that led to a self-preserving mindset, India, or should I say, the new India, is emerging as a more confident and self-aware people. Today, Bharatiyata is a concept you, me and a billion others have no problem in embracing. This same sentiment was also echoed in Prime Minister Narendra Modi's address at the United Nations General Assembly, when he called India as the mother of democracy.
अध्यक्ष महोदय, मैं उस देश का प्रतिनिधित्व कर रहा हूं जिसे मदर ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी का गौरव हासिल है.
But somehow, this unabashed show of pride and awareness about India, this display of Bharatiyata, didn't sit well with some people. To us, it seems this calls for a history lesson, because neither is it the first time our democratic traditions have been extolled on global platforms, nor is it something that is incorrect. Hello and welcome to New India Junction. I am Richa Dwivedi and this is The Bottom Line. Have a look at these tweets. Or even this article. Why the debate? Is this not a commonly known fact? Seems not. Sure, the Magna Carta marked a very important milestone in democracy's global journey, but was it actually the first instance? The Magna Carta was signed around 1215 AD, that is 13th century. A considerable time before that, Guru Basaveshwara had created the concept of Anubhav Mandap in Bihar, Karnataka, somewhere around the 12th century. The Mandap was a parliamentary institution that was open to all for free flow of ideas, literally meaning experience pavilion. The Mandap was devoid of any discrimination, caste, creed, gender, stature, or otherwise. How about that for inclusion? How about that for democratic system? But do you know of a small Vaikuntha Perumal temple in Uthiramirur near Kanchipuram, Tamil Nadu? On the walls of this temple is an inscription from the 10th century, that is around 920 to 970 AD. It mentions a detailed process of governance through representatives elected by the people of the area. This inscription from a millennia ago can be translated loosely, and it begins with "We the villagers." It then goes on to describe the eligibility criteria for a representative and the process of their removal in case they abuse their power or flout the rules. It even mentions that close aides and relatives of tainted officials should be kept away from the government. The document that defines the same for us today also begins similarly with the words "We the people of India." So naturally, those who have always believed that political power should rest with just one family, no matter what, will of course have trouble recalling this connection. As for the question of Greece, historians have often claimed that the Athenian democracy left out women, slaves, and those of foreign origin, making it quite the elitist and selective institution. What about inclusion? No regard for common good? But why must we stop here? Let's delve even deeper into history. The Aitareya Brahmana from the Shakala Shakha of the Rigveda was written sometime around 1000 BCE to 500 BCE. The text presents evidence that even in those ancient times, kingship was elective in nature. In fact, according to that scripture, a king-elect was required to take this oath, and I quote, "Between the night I am born and the night I die, whatever good I might have done, my heavens, my life and my children, may I be deprived of if I oppress you." There, several centuries before the birth of Christ, Bharatvarsh had mandated an elective, non-arbitrary government for the welfare of the people. Yet some refuse to believe it even today. Why? The Rigveda also mentions Vratam Vratam Gadam Gadam. Gadam or Gana are the representatives of different clans and assemblies. The Narad Smriti, written around the 1st to 5th century AD, then talks about a Ganatantra or the Republic. These assemblies of Gana were called Sanghas. Similarly, ancient Buddhists had adopted the institution of Sangha as a form of governing assembly. They held discussions, argued in debates, and even voted, all to reach a collective decision. No wonder there is now archaeological evidence as well. Vaishali in Bihar, capital of the ancient Lichavi clan, was actually a republic. Again, several hundred years before Christian era. It was almost 100 years later, around the 5th century BCE, that the Greek system of democracy came into being. Isn't that proof of concept? Also, Prime Minister Modi isn't the first leader who has extolled India's democratic tradition. Narasimha Rao in Nepal in 1990 and Atal Bihari Vajpayee in 2003. Yet, why the debate this time around? At a time when this has changed completely, at a time when inclusion is the government's top priority, at a time when elections are witnessing the increasing turnouts, that too with ever-increasing number of women voters. Why this debate? Over the last few decades, the Indian people had lost their faith in democracy, with no benefits reaching the common people, with those who were the last in the line left with no hope of ever being heard. India and even its intellectuals had little faith in democracy. But that has changed, hasn't it? Today, when Prime Minister Modi from the biggest global platform claims that democracy can deliver, 1 billion Indians agree with him. When he says that democracy has delivered, 1 billion voices say aye. But why do some people still refuse to believe present-day numbers? Why do they ignore historical precedents and sing praises for Western cultures? Why do they continue to feel a strong and malicious aversion to everything that is Bharatiya? Why do they choose to protest every decision that is taken for the welfare of the little guy and then claim to be working in his favor? What is it that they actually want? You decide.